On the afternoon of December 3rd, 1998, 40-year-old Julie Jensen was found dead in her bed at her home in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. Her husband, Mark Jensen, was the one who discovered her body and immediately notified the authorities. When Kenosha County District Attorney Bob Jambois arrived at the scene, he took note of several unusual details. Julie's nose appeared to be pushed to one side, and one of her arms was positioned underneath her body in a way that seemed unnatural. Despite these observations, there were no visible signs of trauma or any clear indication of what had caused her death. Mark informed the investigators that Julie had been feeling physically unwell for several days before her death. According to him, she had visited a doctor and had been prescribed the antidepressant Paxil just days prior. He explained that she had been struggling emotionally and had shown signs of depression. These statements provided the only context available at the time, as there was nothing outwardly apparent at the scene to suggest foul play. In the absence of conclusive evidence at the scene, law enforcement officers conducted a full search of the residence. As part of standard investigative procedure, they seized the family's desktop computer, hoping to uncover any information that might shed light on Julie's sudden and unexplained death. With few physical clues and limited medical findings available initially, the investigation into Julie Jensen's death remained open-ended. Her passing, though not immediately classified as suspicious, raised quiet but persistent questions that would gradually build into a case far more complex than anyone could have anticipated. Julie Jensen was a Wisconsin native, born into a large family as one of 6 siblings. She grew up with strong Midwestern roots, surrounded by the steady values of close-knit community life. During her early working years, Julie took a job at Sears, where she met Mark Jensen. Their relationship began as a workplace connection and developed into a long-term commitment that extended through their college years. In the spring of 1984, the couple married, beginning a new chapter of their lives together. They eventually settled in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, an affluent and peaceful suburb located just 1 block from Lake Michigan. The Jensens purchased a home in this upscale neighborhood, building what appeared to be a stable and prosperous life. Julie pursued a professional path in finance, working as an administrative assistant at a brokerage firm. Her dedication to her career was evident through her earning of a Series 7 license, a credential that highlighted her financial knowledge and professional competency. After the birth of their first son, David, in 1990, Julie made the decision to step away from her career to focus on raising her family. A few years later, the couple welcomed their second son, Douglas. Julie embraced her role as a full-time mother, dedicating her energy to her children and home. She was known for her involvement in family life and appeared to those around her as a devoted wife and caring mother. This background paints Julie not as a victim alone, but as a woman with a full and active life. In the days following Julie Jensen's death, investigators remained puzzled. The initial toxicology reports offered no answers, showing no trace of drugs or substances that could explain her sudden and unexplained passing. With no visible injuries and a clean toxicology screen, the investigation seemed to stall. However, a key piece of evidence was already in their possession: the family's home computer. As authorities examined the content of the computer, they uncovered a disturbing detail. Someone in the household had recently searched for information about ethylene glycol, a highly toxic chemical compound found in antifreeze. This alarming digital footprint reignited suspicion and prompted investigators to take a deeper look into the toxicology evidence. A second round of blood testing was ordered. This time, a forensic toxicologist discovered traces of ethylene glycol in Julie's system. The results indicated that the poison had not been consumed in a single dose, but rather ingested gradually over several days. This finding was critical. The method of ingestion, along with the lack of antifreeze found anywhere in the home, raised immediate concerns about the nature of Julie's death. Investigators ruled out accidental poisoning, or suicide, and began to suspect foul play. Prosecutors Bob Jambois and Angelina Gabriel closely examined the new forensic evidence. The slow administration of the toxic substance strongly suggested premeditation. It was not the result of a sudden act, but rather the execution of a deliberate plan. The investigation began shifting in tone and direction, now building a case for homicide. The digital evidence, paired with the toxicology findings, marked a pivotal moment. What had started as a medical mystery was now taking the form of a calculated and methodical murder. For years before her death, Julie Jensen reported disturbing incidents of harassment to the Pleasant Prairie Police Department. The incidents began shortly after she admitted to having a brief affair with a coworker. Anonymous hang-up phone calls became a regular occurrence at the Jensen residence. More alarmingly, pornographic images were repeatedly placed around their property. These images were found in their yard, inside the garage, and even on Mark Jensen's car while it was parked at his workplace. At the time, the harassment appeared to be linked to someone outside the household. Police considered the man Julie had once been involved with, but he had since relocated to North Carolina and was later ruled out as a suspect. Despite the alarming pattern, the source of the harassment remained officially unidentified during the early stages of the investigation. As the case developed, new information emerged that shifted the narrative. Analysis of the family's home computer revealed that Mark Jensen had been involved in a romantic relationship with a co-worker named Kelly Labonte. The affair had been ongoing before Julie's death. Just weeks after Julie passed away, Labonte moved into the Jensen home, raising questions about the nature and timing of their relationship. During a police interview 4 months after his wife's death, Mark claimed that Labonte was merely a friend, despite evidence to the contrary. The discovery of this affair, paired with Julie's history of harassment, introduced troubling signs of deception and psychological manipulation within the marriage. The outward appearance of a stable household concealed deep fractures beneath the surface. For investigators, this web of secrecy and control added crucial context to the growing theory that Julie's death was not only premeditated but emotionally and psychologically motivated. Among the most haunting developments in the investigation was the emergence of a letter written by Julie Jensen shortly before her death. Sensing that something was deeply wrong, Julie confided her fears in writing and entrusted the sealed letter to a trusted neighbor. She instructed the neighbor to give it to the police if anything ever happened to her. The letter would later become a powerful piece of evidence, offering a direct voice from Julie beyond the grave. In the letter, Julie expressed clear and disturbing concerns about her safety. She wrote that if she were to die unexpectedly, her husband Mark should be considered her first suspect. Her fears were not vague or speculative. She referred to a specific and alarming discovery. Julie had come across a handwritten list in Mark's datebook, which included entries such as drug supply, razors, and a syringe. These findings, combined with his erratic and suspicious behavior, led her to believe that her life might be in danger. Julie concluded the letter with a solemn hope that she was wrong, but admitted that she feared an early demise. The letter's emotional and evidentiary significance was immense, but presented a legal dilemma. Because the author was deceased, the defense would not be able to cross-examine her, raising questions about the letter's admissibility in court. Still, the letter's clarity, detail, and timing made it impossible to ignore. Despite the legal challenges, the letter would become central to the prosecution's case in the first trial. It captured Julie's growing awareness of the danger around her and provided a chilling premonition of the tragedy that soon followed. Following a steadily growing body of evidence, Mark Jensen was arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of his wife, Julie Jensen. Despite the severity of the charge, he was able to post $500,000 in cash bail and was released pending trial. Rather than maintaining a low profile, Mark moved forward with his life. He started a construction business, married his former co-worker and romantic partner, Kelly Labonte, and the couple went on to have a child together. For a time, it seemed Mark had left the investigation and tragedy behind. Then, in 2006, a crucial breakthrough emerged. Ed Klug, one of Mark's former co-workers, came forward with chilling information. Klug stated that just weeks before Julie's death, Mark had spoken to him over drinks and expressed a deep hatred for his wife. More disturbingly, Mark reportedly said that he could kill her. The statement, made so close to the time of Julie's death, provided prosecutors with critical evidence of motive and premeditation. The legal case gained further momentum when a judge ruled that Julie's letter, written before her death and naming Mark as her first suspect, could be admitted into evidence. This decision marked a significant turning point. With the letter and Klug's testimony, the case was set for trial in 2008. During the proceedings, prosecutors presented a carefully constructed case built on circumstantial evidence and witness accounts. One of the most impactful testimonies came from Aaron Dillard, a jailhouse informant. Dillard told the court that Mark had confessed to poisoning Julie with antifreeze. According to Dillard, Julie's health visibly declined, prompting concern from the couple's sons. Mark allegedly told the boys he would call for help if their mother was not better after school. Instead, Dillard testified, Mark panicked and suffocated Julie with a pillow to ensure her death before they returned. The prosecution strategy focused on a cumulative narrative: the pattern of harassment, the extramarital affair, forensic findings, and Julie's prophetic letter. Together, these elements portrayed a calculated plan. The 2008 trial concluded with Mark Jensen being found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Mark Jensen's initial conviction in 2008 brought a sense of closure to those seeking justice for Julie Jensen. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, that closure would prove temporary. Years later, the conviction faced a critical legal challenge. An appellate court reviewed the case and determined that the introduction of Julie's letter at trial had violated Mark's constitutional rights. Since the letter's author could not be cross-examined, the court ruled that its admission as evidence was improper. As a result, the conviction was overturned and a new trial was ordered. The decision marked a significant setback for prosecutors. Julie's letter had served as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence in the original trial. With the letter excluded, the prosecution was forced to reconsider their strategy for the retrial. The case returned to court in 2023, more than 2 decades after Julie's death. This time, the prosecution relied on newly emphasized digital forensic evidence. A computer expert was brought in to examine data from the Jensen household computer. The expert's analysis revealed that Mark himself had been behind a years-long harassment campaign directed at Julie. The hang-up phone calls and distribution of pornographic images, initially believed to be the work of an unknown stalker, were traced back to Mark. This discovery reshaped the narrative, placing direct responsibility on him for psychologically tormenting Julie following her brief affair. By establishing a pattern of calculated and sustained emotional abuse, prosecutors demonstrated Mark's capacity for control and manipulation. They argued that Julie's mental and emotional deterioration in the months before her death was not coincidental, but orchestrated by her husband. Despite the absence of the powerful letter, the prosecution's revised approach proved successful. The jury found Mark Jensen guilty once again of first-degree intentional homicide. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The 2023 verdict reaffirmed the justice system's commitment to holding him accountable and brought finality to a case that spanned over 2 decades, ensuring that Julie Jensen's voice, though legally silenced, was still heard to the facts and evidence presented. The case of Julie Jensen left a lasting imprint on both the legal system and the public's understanding of domestic abuse behind closed doors. While her handwritten letter was ultimately deemed inadmissible in the courtroom, its emotional power resonated far beyond legal boundaries. The letter served as a deeply personal and courageous warning, a woman documenting her fear and suspicion, hoping it might one day make a difference. Though suppressed during the retrial, it remained central in shaping how investigators, the media, and the public perceived the case. Julie's death and the years-long fight for justice became emblematic of a hidden form of domestic violence, emotional and psychological abuse cloaked in a facade of suburban normalcy. Her story shed light on how such abuse can escalate silently, and how even in seemingly stable homes, dangerous dynamics can remain undetected until tragedy strikes. The legal debate surrounding the case also sparked broader discussions about evidentiary standards in homicide trials. The challenges around using posthumous letters and jailhouse confessions highlighted the delicate balance between protecting constitutional rights and ensuring that critical evidence is not excluded. Ultimately, the Jensen case reinforced the vital role of persistence, forensic science, and digital investigation in modern criminal justice. The path to Mark Jensen's conviction was long and legally complex, but underscored the importance of thorough investigative work and a justice system willing to adapt. Julie's voice, though never heard in court, left an indelible mark. Her story continues to serve as a powerful reminder of the need to recognize and act upon signs of abuse, no matter how well hidden.